The main focus of the podcast is just to kind of help other private practices and clinicians that are starting, that are direct pay, cash pay, concierge, how people have been able to grow their practice. I do appreciate you doing this because I know that tends to be one of the biggest questions a lot of people ask is, how do I grow my practice, or what can I do for marketing, or what I'm doing isn't working. So I want to pretty much create a hub of where they can get ideas and inspiration of what has worked for different people in different areas. And what I like about you specifically is that you are in a more rural area and that you had no patient base. You were starting from zero. So that was very inspiring to kind of hear how you were able to start growing your practice that way. I'm Alexa with the Clinicians Atelier, and today we have Dr. Ageena Hass with us, and I'm really excited to kind of share her story. It's going to tell a little bit about herself, where she's located, and a little bit about her practice.
I am Dr. Ageena Hass. I have Your Best Health, a little DPC in Sallisaw, Oklahoma. We are on the pretty much on the border between Oklahoma and Arkansas. I am in my third year of residency. All of my peers chose to moonlight in the ER, and I got permission to open my clinic, and so I was excited to do that. I graduated from residency in June of 2025, and so I operate my practice in the evenings and on the weekends, and then I'm in residency for the rest of the time.
Oh, wow. So can you tell me a little bit how you're doing that, like how you're balancing both?
It's a tricky balance, but I have a business phone. My husband takes care of it during the day. And then when I get home in the evening, I call or visit with whoever needs called or visited with. Occasionally during the day, I'll sneak in a few prescriptions or something during lunch, or an email or something. And yeah, it's kind of a tricky balance. Pretty much every moment I have off from residency, I spend in my own little practice.
The true part of an entrepreneur. No, I love that. So is there anything in any language or anything, your contract, that prohibits you from being able to run your practice on this side, or was there flexibility?
So there's some flexibility. So I have to abide by the moonlighting rules that ACGME has. That's the governing body for residency. And I can't violate the hours that are set. But other than that, having my own practice, I just signed the paper that I'm working for myself. So there's like a moonlighting agreement that residents signed. The rest of them had, the rest of my peers had a signature from the ER doc that's in charge of them, and I just basically signed my own.
Got it. Okay, that's quite interesting. Okay, so I know when we spoke offline, you had mentioned you moved to a new area where you guys didn't know anybody. And so tell me a little bit about your approach initially in building your patient base in a new community where you had limited connections.
Well, I guess what I did was I just started just trying ideas, anything that came to mind. So the first thing I did was I ran an advertisement in the local paper that I was having this clinic, that I was open, I was taking patients, and I got absolutely nothing out of that. No one called, no one contacted us at all. I joined the Chamber of Commerce. I took information to them. They were really excited that we were there. They enjoyed coming out, looking at the clinic, visiting with us, but I never got a patient from there for, I guess, about 2 months. And then somebody in town who has connection to a Chamber of Commerce member was looking for somebody to take care of her little boy because he was sick, and it was late in the evening and she didn't know where to go. And they told her that maybe she could try calling me. So she called me and she was like, "I'll load him up and bring him to you." And I'm like, no. Sick baby should stay at home. I'll come to you. And so I went in, did a house call with her. And I really thought that would open the door for me. It did. I just continued to see her. And anytime she needs something for her little boy, she calls me and we do that. But it really didn't open any doors. So then I did radio advertisement. That didn't help me. I did the Christmas parade. I got my friends together. We made a float. We walked in a Christmas parade with a nice big banner. It got me nothing, except that we gave away a lot of candy and had sore feet. And then I advertisement. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, it didn't work. And then I got a book called One Page Marketing Plan by Alan Deb. And I read that book, and it has you go through all of these things about how to advertise for one specific thing, one idea. And so I ran an ad that I was going to do a lumps and bumps clinic. And for $100, I would take off whatever there was, a mole, a cyst, or whatever you had, $100, I'll pull it off. I actually had 2 people show up from that. And from that, I have started growing patients. It has been really good.
So tell me also, since we're kind of talking about lumps and bumps, and that was kind of bringing in some people, but more about how you started that journey of like the house calls and how that kind of began the word of mouth referrals.
So when I had the opportunity for house calls, the first one that I made was a little boy who got sick, but the one that has made a difference in like our patient base is I did a lymphoma for this lady, my little lumps and bumps clinic, and her husband came up to visit me about his long COVID, and we discussed some things that he could do, and then I didn't hear from him for I guess it was 24 hours, and I was concerned because I knew that he was using medication that he was getting at Tractor Supply, and he had talked about how to use that appropriately, and I just was worried. And so I had his address. I drove over to his house and walked up to the yard, and they were there watering their flowers. We visited for a long time. And now then that has turned into a really great relationship where they are referring other people to us because they've just never had a doctor do that.
You talked a little bit about just like the different things you tried, like print media. You had tried the Chamber of Commerce, and then you read that book that said, hey, focus on one thing. And then focusing on one thing is ultimately what helped you start building the practice little by little. And so that's kind of what led to your success. And what would you say have been some challenges besides the fact that we know you're still in residency and you're trying to balance everything? Obviously, that's a challenge. But what would you say are some of the challenges? Or do you feel like you're starting to get more consistency and growth? Is it still just the ongoing marketing? Tell me a little bit about that.
So I had no idea how to run a business. That was one of the first challenges. And I just didn't even know how to set it up. So finding out how to do my own LLC, how to set all of that up, some idea of how to do bookkeeping, which I'm still not great at. I was able to hand that off, thank goodness. Those were really challenging. But then there were things that I thought were challenging that I never even thought would be challenging. Like, how do you put all these medical supplies in a cabinet so that they make sense when you need them? I never do that because I have nurses at work who do that for me. Or where do I put all this stuff somewhere and now I need it? And yeah, that was a lot bigger challenge than I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm. So just like organization, like just the structuring of the business, things that you were used to just maybe showing up somewhere and it being done for you versus now you have to wear all the hats and do it yourself.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never thought about what it took to have those right at hand. Well, I mean, now I figured it out, but it did take me quite a while.
Mm-hmm. And so going back a little bit to the LLC and all that, was that something you did yourself or did you hire an attorney? Tell me a little bit about that process.
I did the LLC myself in Oklahoma, and I think in every state. You can get online with I think it's ok.gov, but whatever, you get on the state's website and find out the regulations for it, and then I downloaded it's not LegalZoom, but it's one of those kind of things where you're online, and I got on and I got their free. It wasn't free. It was, I don't know, $15 or $20. Anyway, it wasn't much. So I joined their little thing long enough to get my LLC paperwork settled out. And then I immediately unjoined it. So I didn't have to pay them the next month because I couldn't do that. Yeah, so the LLC I did mostly on my own.
Got it. Okay. And what about your website? Did you do that by yourself as well, or did you have someone help you?
I had someone help me. I'm associated with a school in the next town over, and with our little church. Our church has a little school, and they had access to a website guy, and then I talked to him, and he designed it for me.
Okay, great. And I know because from what it sounds like, most of your patient panel is growing from just like either referrals or doing these bumps and lumps. Are you still running those clinics still?
I am. Well, I am and I'm not. I was giving them like a specific day of the month, like it was lumps and bumps day. But now that I find I'm okay to just make a schedule, when somebody wants to come in, I just do it. We wrote a schedule for like a media schedule, and he puts that lumps and bumps clinic thing up like every, I don't know, 4 or 5 days. And then I take appointments for that when they come up, and we make sure to make a long appointment. So I have it affirmed.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, just out of pure curiosity, about what's your patient panel right now?
Right now I'm sitting at about 22.
Okay. And do the lumps and bumps typically convert or into patients, or what does that kind of look like? What does that conversation look like is it more like, are you nurturing them after they come to eventually convert them to a potential patient? Do you normally try to convert them on the spot once they do come in by sharing what you do? Tell me a little bit, what's your sales approach? I guess I know people don't like the word sales, but that's the reality.
No, that's the reality. I'm a real chatty person, and I like to know more about patients. And so when I open up this conversation of there's this lump that bothers me, and we talk about how long it's been there and why it's bothered you and what's your goal and those kind of things. And then eventually it come around while I'm working, we chat the whole time, and it's, this is what I do and who's your primary care and who's taking care of you and those kind of things. And so I have one little group of patients, the three that came together. They actually left the local doctor to come to me because they had access, and they knew, I gave them my phone number, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is your cell phone number?" Yeah, that's my cell phone number. You can text me or call me, and that really made the difference. One of them is like, they never ever go to the doctor, and if they ever need me again, they'll show up. And then one of the other ones that I've worked with, I've worked with her 4 times now, 2 different things. And then her little boy got a rash, so she sent me a text message. We talked about that. So we kind of did a little urgent care there too. And will that turn into membership? I don't know. But when she needs care, she comes to me. So,
So let's talk about that. So if they're calling you one time, are you kind of offering one time visit?
I really do. If people don't have chronic meds that I have to manage, and this is what they want to do, I have $100 fee, and we'll do whatever you need to do. Take whatever off. We'll look at your baby's crash. We'll do whatever we need to do. It's $100 cash. And if this is how you want to do it, that's fine. Because just some people need that.
Yeah, I know sometimes within the DPC community, we hear different things like, no, don't offer the one-time visit. Yes, do the monthly membership. But, every now and then I do know people that do offer the one-time visit. Sometimes they offer it at a much higher rate, obviously, to kind of encourage the memberships. But I think it's like one of those things that if you notice a trend that they're coming every so often, maybe sitting them down and being, hey, have you noticed you visited this many times, in the last, month or the last couple of months, if you became a member, you could save this much throughout the year. I think, what are those some of the conversations? Have you been able to convert anyone with those types of tactics? Or
Not at all. But I'm still really new at this too. So I don't know that the one family is even possibility of converting with that conversation. And and maybe it's not everywhere in the country. Maybe it's just where I live. It seems to be like I have two very different populations where I live. One of they have chronic health issues. They go to doctors. They're not happy with their medical care. They find out they can get more access. And hey, DPC makes a great thing. Here, please take care of me. So I have that crowd of people. But then I have the people who are like, I'm super healthy. I do my own thing. I never, ever go to the doctor. And I can't understand why I would pay you a membership. But I need this one thing. Can you take care of it? And I really, at the beginning, fought with that in my head. I didn't want to do fee for service for, these one-off things. I read a lot of the DPC books about that's how you fail. And so I don't know. I'm still just so new. I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know if I'll continue to offer that or if I'm going to end up with a little group of people that I offer that to because I have.
Mm-hmm. That kind of grandfather them in. Yeah. I think it's one of those things when you start a business, if it's something that is not hindering you and it's not limiting you on the kind of care that you want to provide to your members that are paying the monthly membership, I think, in my opinion, I probably wouldn't think it's a big deal. But I can see like maybe once your panel starts growing, maybe the one-offs become less of a priority. And maybe that's where you do charge a higher fee for the one time, or you do just stop altogether. And then either they do eventually convert to members or you grandfather them in because they were with you in the beginning. But I do think it's one of those things, like you said, when you get started, you're still trying to navigate your growth. You're still learning. And right now, it's not really like affecting the type of service that you're able to offer to your members. And you're still able to balance it all, which is pretty amazing considering you're still in residency. So I know we talked briefly about this, but what are some other resources or skills you wish you had when you first started marketing your business?
And some art skills might have helped me at the beginning. Now my husband has gone and learned how to do Canva, and that has filled in where we needed that. I really wish I had more tech skills or, learning how to do my website. So I had someone set my website up and then I have like the keys to the kingdom on that. And I go in and change things. And there's been a few times where I went and changed things on my website. And then later that evening, I opened it up. I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I just do to that? And I had to go and figure out how to undo all of what I had horribly done. So I wish I had those kind of skills, but they're going to come along. They're either going to come along or I'm going to find someone to help me with. That's actually what happened with bookkeeping was I found someone who really is stellar and is motivated to help me grow. So I could ask for better there.
Share this just like in one of my little videos that I put out of the things I wish I would have known when I started my business 15 years ago. Like I didn't have an attorney. I didn't have a bookkeeper. I was learning how to do everything by myself. And so definitely when you start a business and this is something I feel like everyone will probably say some way throughout their journey is like, when you're starting a business, like we're trained in what we're trained in, but no one really trains you on how to be a business owner. And so it's like one of those things you learn like either the hard way or you have to take classes or you have to kind of figure out like how to do it. And so, yeah, definitely can say money and accounting was something I also prefer to outsource because there's so many things you don't want to leave on the table at the time of tax season. So sometimes it's helpful to get someone that knows what they're doing for sure. So I agree. Absolutely. So looking back, what have you considered to be the most successful marketing strategy so far and why?
The most successful has been having a really loyal friend group. I have friends from across. So word of mouth is definitely the best. And then I have this group of friends who like to get into all of the little local discount chat thing. And when somebody's looking for a position, they like plug my business. And just having people who love you and have time to be on Facebook is huge.
There are ways that Facebook groups can be successful at times to kind of connect with people and grow. But it is one of those things, kind of like that book said, and something one of our other guests mentioned, that sometimes we want to do a lot of different types of strategies, but sometimes just getting really good at one and growing is sometimes the best way to grow, kind of like the book you mentioned, because we're trying to do all these different things and it really absorbs a lot of energy from us when we're trying to do so many different types of marketing strategies versus when we just focus on one and we keep putting our time and energy in that and growing it and being consistent, because really it comes down to consistency. So sometimes we think people aren't paying attention, or we think people aren't watching, or people aren't paying attention, but the reality is they are. And so we think we lose that motivation sometimes, like, oh, no one's looking, no one's paying attention. And so we then change and we shift gears and the constant shifting gears and the lack of consistency makes it hard sometimes to grow a business because you're not staying focused on something that's working. So yeah, I do think I agree with what you're saying. Like, you have your friends that are kind of helping you with that. And then you have your strategy where you did the lumps and bumps. And that's where you've been able to get, whether it is the fee for service for the one-time visits, or you've been able to get some members from that as well. So obviously that strategy has been working for you as well. And it seems like you've been consistent with that. What is some advice you'd give to someone maybe getting out of residency or that's in residency and is interested in DPC?
It's like jumping in the lake with cold water. Just jump. Because if you try to tiptoe into the edge, it's not going to work out. There's a lot of scary stuff. I think it's better just to jump off and just, struggle, learn how to swim. It's been great. There's days when it's definitely the business side of it is overwhelming. But then there's the moments I get to care for a patient and I do a house call for someone, or I'm just on the phone chatting with them and able to take care of them. And that's huge. It's so worth it.
If there was someone in residency, because I never met someone that I've met residents that would tell me, oh, I want to start a DPC when I get out. But I've never actually met someone that's like overlapped the two. And so I guess that's why I was like, what advice would you give someone that was like, I might want to actually do what she's doing. I might want to overlap the two.
So my friends that are moonlighting in the ER are making what feels like obscene amount of money. And I'm certainly not. I'm just to the point where I'm kind of even. Prior to this, I was bleeding money, pretty much just like I did in med school. But I never wanted, when I get done, I want to work for myself. And so it just felt like, why not just go ahead and do it? It's hard. I am in a residency program where we have residency programs talk about that golden weekend where they get off 2 days. Well, the residency program that I'm in, I've rarely ever worked a full weekend. So it's really, if you're going to do it, if you're even interested, make sure you pick your residency program carefully, because there are residency programs out there that will work you to literal death, and you're not going to be able to do both. You just can't. This takes too much too much brain power, too much just dedication to being able to keep up with those phone calls and come home at night and do a text message and those kind of things. And if I had a residency program that was, any more strenuous than the one that I have, I couldn't do it. So I guess that would be the advice that I'm thinking about. If you're a med student and you're looking at this as something you want to do, choose your residency program carefully. Get somewhere where somebody's looking to give you autonomy and to give you the time to use your autonomy. I couldn't do it without the program that I'm in.
Definitely. Is there anything else that you'd want to share that, through this journey, I'm still amazed that you're kind of overlapping them. It's very rare. And I say you have a true entrepreneur spirit, because not many people want to do that overlap. It's very exhausting. And I actually speak from experience. I worked a full-time job and I ran my businesses on the side growing up since I was 21, because I didn't have anyone to pay my bills. So I had to pay my bills and I had to run my businesses. But I believed so much in working. I didn't even think of I want to work for myself. I just love so much art and design. But I was just spent years building it, but I still needed a stable income. And so my thing is, when I hear that you're doing this, it's very rare to hear somebody that sacrifices the amount of time that you're sacrificing to build your dream in reality. You want it, so it shows that you want it so bad, and you're willing to do the hard work today, so that when you do graduate residency, your practice should be more stable and should be fuller by then. And also the fact that you have the support of your husband that's able to take those calls, and having someone that can at least help you with the administrative during the day while you're, working, obviously is extremely helpful as well.
I had a meeting with my program director a couple days ago to re-sign we have to re-sign our moonlighting agreement every so often. And when I first asked him about doing this, he was like, well, I don't see any rules against it. And none of the program directors that he works with none of them have a resident doing the same thing, or have heard of a resident doing the same thing. So they're all kind of curious about me and what I do. And when I went to talk to my program director about this, he held up his phone with my website on it, where it says that there's 24/7 access. And he's like, how are you doing this? I've got program directors asking me if you are violating hours. I'm like, oh, no. My husband has the phone. He's taking care of that. So I really could not. Without him doing that, there's just no way.
Mm-hmm. I do know in the beginning, a lot of the doctors that I designed for, we would put 24/7. Eventually, we changed it to just direct access or same day, next day appointments was some of the verbiage we started using, because, sometimes someone would call at 2 or 3 in the morning, and some of the doctors were like, well, no, I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to change it to, direct access. But that's the beauty of having your own business. You run it how you want to run it, right?
As so far, and I don't know, as I grow and things get bigger, that could change. But so far, everybody that I have as a patient is so concerned about my time that they apologize to me when they call. Oh, I'm so sorry I had to call you, but... And I'm like, that's what I'm here for. Don't be sorry. But every one of them has been super respectful of my time.
Yeah, I think it's just setting expectations early, instead of because if someone, does come on early, comes on now at 24/7, then you change it later, then they feel like they're losing services, you see? And so sometimes, kind of getting the messaging clear in the beginning, which is what we always talk about, on anything, getting your messaging clear from the beginning also helps eliminate, issues in the future for yourself, and also for other people that may be interested in the services, where they have a clear idea of what they can expect. But yeah, no, I absolutely appreciate your time. And I think it is kind of cool. This episode will be kind of different because you're actually in the beginning phases. So kind of tell people, and it kind of sets a realistic expectation in the idea that sometimes I feel like I get doctors that look at some of these other physicians that maybe started with 100 or 200 doctors, start with 100 or 200 patients, and maybe some followed them from previous practice, or maybe they spent 6 months kind of selling it before they opened and they don't realize that. And then they're like, why is my practice not growing? Here you are working a full-time job. Well, more than that, like working more than full-time, because doctors work more than a full-time hours. And then on top of that, you're also running your practice and you have 22 members and you're still seeing fee for service. So that's not including the other appointment times that you're taking in between your memberships. And so I think sometimes people need a reality check of like, just because you don't have 100 members in your first year does not mean you're not successful. And that's what I try to like tell people. Success is different to every person. And the fact that you are working and you're doing this, and the fact that you do have 22 patients, that's pretty amazing. You know what I mean? But it's different for everybody.
It really is. And everybody's got different goals. And that's a huge thing. I mean, I'm in residency with people whose goals are to get a $300,000 paycheck every year and to be happy with that. And, you know, if this ever turns into that kind of money, I guess I'll figure out what to do with it. But my goal is to be able to be home and drink the coffee in the morning with my husband and then take care of patients and then, you know, not have to move very far and that kind of stuff. Go do a few house calls, have a more relaxed, laid back approach to medicine. I work with a lot of attendings who are burnt out or who are burning out because they have 8, 12 hours a day that they're, seeing 20, 30 patients, doing all these notes, pressure. And that's not what I want out of life. I didn't learn all of this so that I could get burnt out that fast.
Mm-hmm. I do love that you said everyone's goals are different. And I think that's a good reminder to people, because sometimes we think success is a number, and really success can be just having a peaceful life and making an income where you feel comfortable. And that to you is success. And so I think we need to redefine success for ourselves. And so that's the whole point of doing a business. Like you may think, well, what does this part of, the podcast have to do with marketing and everything? And because when you market and you're doing sales and you start a business, you have to know, what is my goal? Do I want to make $200,000, $1 million a year, or am I happy with $50,000 a year? I sometimes coach different people when it comes just to business in general. And I had one girl tell me, I want to make $50,000 a year. And that's her goal. And she's like, I'd be happy with that. I'd still have freedom. I still can do and live a life and do what I want. Not everyone wants to make 6 figures or wants to make 7 figures. And that's okay. And I think we need to stop the reason you started your business was for you to help others, because you wanted to solve problems, because you wanted to help people. And you have to go back to, what is the purpose of me starting this business? Who is this for? Who do I want to help? And what am I comfortable with? And what is fair to me? I love that you said that. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed chatting with you and you kind of sharing your journey of the house calls and meeting people, and then just kind of how you've been doing this transition. It's pretty impressive to me.
So yeah, I really enjoyed the input. I really enjoyed getting to hear your ideas. That is so helpful. I love to hear from other people.
I hope you found inspiration in today's podcast with Dr. Ageena sharing her story about being in residency and starting her private practice. If you are in residency, this could be inspiration if you've known or thought of starting your own DPC. If you don't already follow us, you can follow us at The Clinician Atelier. You can also listen to other podcasts on all major podcast platforms and also on our website at theclinicianatelier.com. I hope you continue to join each week to hear different clinicians and doctors share their stories.